Up next, Ludicrous with Bitch Get Out the Way.
Yes. That's going to be the perfect clip.
That was
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.
That's edited, right?
Thank you. No, we're not.
We are not editing that
Full
out.
reel. Yes.
I had somebody tell me that I should be on audiobooks or,
I can totally see that.
My second career should be reading books.
Put people to sleep or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's such a soothing voice. I do tell my kids I am a professional, or I was a professional storyteller. That's what lawyers do, right? So they would ask.
Hey guys, welcome to the Next Level Living podcast. Summer Blazer here with my co-host Corey Neubauer, and we have the great and powerful Cang Lee with us today. Welcome.
You meant great and short.
Well, are we going to talk about short already?
No, we're going to talk about the voice.
Luckily, we're all the same size sitting down. So I'm glad.
Listen, we are kicking off with a bottle of wine, which I'm super excited about. Can you tell us about this wine?
I know nothing about the wine, so I grabbed it on my way here. And
I appreciate that you took so much time and effort.
Right.
I apologize for not
I thought there was going to be the story like, hey, I pulled it out of my basement
you suggested
cellar.
this beforehand. You suggested the wine, which is a great thing because we're now going to incorporate this into our next level living after dark. Yes. I think we call it.
Yeah, you wanted an organic conversation, and how can you do that without some wine?
Yeah.
I agree.
We're not going to tell them what hour of the day it is.
Yes.
Cheers.
It is after
Yes,
cheers.
it is
We'll cheers
after
from afar.
cheers.
Yes.
But it's
It is
still wine
afternoon,
appropriate.
right?
Yes.
And when you do the cheers, everybody has to look in the eyeballs. I always say, look to me in my eyeball
in my
when you do the
eyeballs.
cheers, and then we take a sip.
So,
Well, we appreciate you being here.
I thank you for having me. This
Yes.
is great.
So before we got started, you were talking about your radio voice. So we got to dig into that a little bit before we get to any of this stuff because that's hilarious.
Well, I grew up in Southern California, and I was asking you guys if you guys are familiar. Back in the days before Spotify, there used to be this thing called radio.
Or Napster. Yeah.
Even before Napster.
Yes.
Where we're dating ourselves.
Yes.
But
I'm okay with that.
in Southern California, there was a hip hop R&B station on 92.3 The Beat.
The beat.
And there was a DJ on there. His name was Theo. And he was an Asian American, good looking guy. And
So nothing like you then.
no. I believe he was probably a lot taller, but in radio, you're fine. And apparently people thought, Cang, you're the next Theo. And before the aspirations of joining the radio could even happen, radio was gone.
Yeah.
Radio died.
Yep.
Just
Dang it.
So can you give us like a intro that Theo would do to a song?
Like,
Come on. Like a 90. What's a good Summer's the music girl. What's a good 90s song?
did you have a favorite R&B
Like
in the 90s?
How about we were just talking about Ludacris.
Ludicrous.
Introduce Luda.
Wow.
Yes.
Luda.
Which one? Bitch, move out the way.
Yeah, that was Diana's favorite song.
Yes.
And up next, Ludicrous with Bitch Get Out the Way.
Yes.
That's going to be the perfect clip.
That was
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.
That's edited, right?
Thank you. No, we're not.
We are not editing that
Full
out.
reel. Yes.
So now I get to actually use my radio voice. This is short-lived. It's only one episode.
Well, you do it in the courtroom, don't you?
It does work well in a courtroom.
Yeah.
And
And you know how to like slow it down and speed it up, right? It's all about the effect, right?
Like telling a story.
I had somebody tell me that I should be on audiobooks or
I can totally see that.
my second career should be reading books.
Put people to sleep or what?
Yeah. There's such a soothing voice. I do tell my kids I am a professional, or I was a professional storyteller. That's what lawyers do, right? So they would ask, Dad, what do you do? And this when they were younger, and they didn't know what a lawyer did. And I said, I'm a professional storyteller. It's
Hopefully you don't tell them HOA stories.
I bet that intrigued them though.
I do. So before I do a trial or an opening statement, I do practice on my kids and my wife.
That's amazing.
And my friends. So I do these sessions. I have them over and feed them a lot of wine. And
It's for positive feedback,
Yes.
positive affirmation. Yeah.
Yes.
and I will give my opening statement. I will put it on the TV or a PowerPoint or whatever. And yeah, I give a full opening
That's
statement.
phenomenal. I love that.
They're my first case studies. All my friends, relatives, because they're the ones that give you the honest answer, whether your case is good, your story sucks. But essentially being a lawyer is just storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these statistics about when you go to trial, when you go to a case, 60 to 70% of cases are won on the story, not even the facts.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Probably the most famous case is OJ,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
But doesn't fit, you must have quit.
right, they had a better story,
Yeah.
which is the quintessential example of good storytelling or creating a narrative that is believable.
Yes.
Not to get too political, but,
No.
but nowadays it's sort of facts, rules of evidence is a little bit iffy, right?
Yeah.
And who tells the better story?
Mm-hmm.
It's who gives the better narrative. And I was always good at that. So circling back to the voice thing, having a good voice, being able to tell a story made me a good lawyer. Granted, I had to know the law. But
Minor details, right?
yeah, working within the parameters of the law. But it helped with boards.
Yeah.
It helped with HOAs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So essentially, when you go into a board meeting,
Yeah, it's a case.
it is a case.
Yeah.
It is a story. It is your narrative.
Yeah.
And whether you're an attorney, you're a manager, whatever your
vendor,
profession,
whoever,
a vendor, your insurance, or whatever it is, you're going there and you're creating a narrative, you're creating a story, and you're trying to convince a board to act and make a decision in a certain way. So it all comes back to storytelling. And so I guess what I'm saying is we're talking about my voice, but it helps with the courtroom. But before you ever get into the courtroom, I think it helps with being able to walk into a meeting, walking into a board, walking into any client, and being able to tell your narrative. I hate to say what you're trying to sell,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's that.
Or you're trying to portray a point that you need to do. We just had another guest on. She's in restoration, and right, she's trying to convey how quickly you need to act, right, and what the downfalls of not acting quickly are. So it's with us with insurance. It's with you from a legal perspective. You know, everyone's trying to make a case
Exactly.
for why you need to act.
Yeah, and I think the ones that have done well in the industry, there are a couple key ingredients to succeeding in the industry.
What are those?
I think one, you got to care about communities. You
Yeah.
got to care about people.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, I think if you're in it for the money, and listen, we're all in it for business and being successful. But if you don't put people first in this industry, I think you're going to fail. If you put money first,
Yep.
you put your own individual success first. We're a service industry, right? And you got to like people, and you got to realize I'm in this to serve these communities and these homeowners.
Yep.
And I know it sounds contrite and sort of, but the relationship.
It's idealistic, but it's true.
But it's true.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And so first and foremost, I think you have to care about the people and the communities, and that's the people you're serving. And I always lead with that. You asked me earlier, why did I stop becoming a lawyer or stop litigating?
Yes.
After
Well, you were doing
18
it for 20 years?
20
Yeah.
years of being a litigator. And I started to discover that I wasn't sure if I was really helping out these communities as a lawyer. And I say that because, so for example, I had my last trial was like a month trial in Napa. At the end of the day, I win. It was a 5-year case. And they pay me, I think, over $500,000 in legal fees.
Right.
Win the case. And it was a construction case. It was not a defect case, but it was a deferred maintenance, and it led to mold and the homeowner being in the hospital. So it was all this medical issues. So it got pretty complex. We had experts from all different parts of the country coming in because she was hospitalized for like 10 days, claiming there was mold and sickness and health, and she wanted like millions of dollars from the HOA. But in any event, I win the case, and great for me.
Right.
They pay me all this money. They didn't have any money to actually address the issue that led them to this case. And half of my lawsuits were of similar fashion.
Yeah.
In that
The fight for just a fight, right?
yeah, or you're paying the lawyer to get you out of the mess when you should have called, whether it was the contractor, whether it was the insurance agent, whatever vendor should have helped you at the beginning.
Yeah.
You defer the maintenance, you kick the can down the road, whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, you're calling the lawyer to fix a mess, and you're paying the lawyers to get you out of it.
It's the old, and prevention goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sort of had an awakening going back to the initial thought of, if you care about this industry and the people, you want to put the people first. I was having great success as a lawyer, But at the end of the day,
You weren't making a difference, right?
yeah, my ego is great. My suit collection's great.
Your
I know,
suit
you know, I
collection
know. We're
is
gonna talk
on
about your
fire, dude. We got to talk about that. These shoes.
But you know what? We were talking before too. You from an educational standpoint, right? You're very, very focused on educating, right? You work with CACM and other organizations to do education. I think that's a testament of if you care, right? We say, do you have the heart of a teacher, right? And it sounds like you have the heart of a teacher. You want people. This is complex stuff that you can help break down, so that the common person can understand it. Because a board member is a homeowner at the end of the day, right? They're not an expert at construction and all this stuff. And who's going to help facilitate some knowledge to them and break it down? And to your point, why do you don't want attorneys sitting there fighting through all this stuff and charging up a huge bill? Let's figure out a simple solution and get to it.
Yeah, education is so important in this industry. It's not like any of us grew up in high school, college, grad school, say, oh, we're going to, that HOA industry, I want to take all those HOA courses.
Yes.
Sign me up.
But
my
now
kids are on that
now
course
that
right
we're
now.
in it,
Yes.
right? It's like you have this heart
But
to
you can
want
make
to
a
do
difference.
good and make
Right.
things better
You can
and
make a
elevate
difference,
the
yeah.
industry and elevate homeowners.
Yes.
And yeah.
And there's an appreciation that comes that you see and a validation that you get from helping someone that doesn't know what's going on, and you can help them through that. We say walk arm in arm with them and think, because there are so many. I mean, you deal with all the. I mean, I don't want to get started with all the legal side of things, but it seems to just every day there's a new law or a new regulation or something else. So it is and we're confused. So
Half of the lawyers are confused, so don't feel so bad.
yes. That's why they call it a practice, right? No.
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
just kidding. Yes.
It is
Yes.
honest. It is the practice of law.
Yeah, but it's telling stories. I think that's a great way, because if you can, it's with any way you communicate. If you can convey your idea in a more vivid way, people are going to understand it.
Yeah. So it's 3 pillars of being an attorney, right? It's like interpretation, negotiation, and persuasion. So the first part is we interpret. Every attorney interprets something differently, right? It's like we read a sentence and you put 3 lawyers in a room and you get 5 different opinions.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And a big bill at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we all look at one thing, we interpret it all differently.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where lawyers, the first thing you learn in law school is you read something, you interpret it. And then when you have an interpretation, then you have to negotiate. You have to be able to sell or tell what your interpretation is and negotiate, right? And then the third part is the persuasion part. And then that, to me, that's like the key fundamentals of being a lawyer. And if you can't persuade, this goes back to the storytelling part, then you're never going to be a good lawyer. So going back to the idea of storytelling, of how do we persuade, and the persuasion comes not with just attorneys, but I think with managers, with anybody that's in the industry.
Yes.
You really care about the industry. You're trying to change it. You're trying to make a difference, trying to grow your business and make money at the same time. But if you really care about it, how are you going to persuade that board to act a way that is in their best interest?
Without even being aware of it, right? Because a lot of times they don't even understand what the right choice is.
They don't. And a lot of times they're looking at you, you're just a sales guy. You're just trying to sell me a product or whatever the case may be. And sure, there's a lot of vendors that are doing that. There are a lot of people in the industry that are just trying to sell something. But I think the ones that care, the ones that survive, are actually trying to make a difference to those communities, those homeowners.
Nope, and that's why you're here today, because we're trying to make a difference, and we appreciate you giving some insight, because that's we don't get a lot of this human side of things, right? Because we're a vendor, we're being told what to do or make this go away or whatever it might be, and I think we need to elevate our industry as a whole and have real conversations.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about like the power of persuasion, not only when you're in law as an attorney, but as a manager, as a parent, right? You're persuading your children, you're educating, you're negotiating, you're storytelling, so that whoever you're talking to is going to make a decision based on the information they're given, right, and the perception that they have. So I think that it applies almost to everyone as far as
which daughter is the most critical when you do your pre-work?
Oh,
the most honest.
They all are.
Yeah.
Well, I have a 13 and 11-year-old.
Okay.
And I guess there's a statistic out there that the educational level of a juror is an 8th grade level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to go with the lowest common denominator. You have to explain it in a way that resonates with a juror. And I don't know their stats on the average board.
Yeah.
But there's as we all know, there's no requirement on serving on your board except for being a homeowner, right?
Right.
So you have to talk it down, not to be pejorative about it or talking, but you have to put it in layman's term or common terms that they can understand. So to me, if I can convince my children or persuade my kids,
right,
then going to the jury is easy. Going to a board meeting is easy.
Yeah.
You know.
But we have our producers here, and he's like, when you explain things like that a third grader can understand it, but that's the same thing of simplify it and tug at the heartstrings and make the point, right?
Yeah. And children are the most honest with you, right?
Oh, yes.
Like, Dad, I have no idea what that meant. Like, what are you talking about?
Good feedback, right? Good feedback.
You sounded so corny there.
You got to record some of those. I hope you have those recorded for later in life.
I should have.
Well, I mean, now you're not doing that anymore, right? You've switched gears into something pretty phenomenal.
Well, going back to the idea of just having that sort of existential realization that I'm winning cases, I'm doing well as a lawyer, but am I really helping out these communities? And so CM2 is a company I knew, and I use their experts in my defect cases and in my other deferred maintenance cases as well. Dixon Rogers, who is the founder of the company, if you might know. I had friends who went in-house, who left the practice of law. They were burnt out after pretty much the same time I'd been doing it. And I called him and said, hey, you looking for an attorney? And he picked me up, and I sort of became his personal attorney and started working with the company. And unfortunately, as you might have been aware, Dirksen passed away in December.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, and so now I'm sort of helping run the company since his passing.
Well, that's some big shoes to step into then.
It is, but I think he founded the company with the same idea and the same ethos of helping out communities. And now I feel like I'm helping out the communities at the front end.
Yeah.
So if that case that I had dealt with, or many of the cases I dealt with, if they had called the contractor at the beginning, if somebody was able to persuade them
in advance,
don't defer your maintenance, hire the contractor.
And here's why.
Yeah,
right.
Don't kick the can down.
Well, and you bring a unique perspective because you're like you know what happens when you defer, so you can tell that story from a true lens that you've seen this. Like, this is what's going to happen if you don't act.
Right. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Right. Would you rather pay a lawyer, $100,000 or $200,000 to defend you, or just pay the contractor, or figure out to pay the contract at the beginning?
Which ultimately fixes the problem, or could potentially fix that issue.
Right.
And we're in Orange County. You guys service Orange County. You service all of California, but nothing's getting younger, right?
Unlike summer, we do not age well.
I know, exactly.
The buildings don't age well.
Yes.
They don't look this good in 50 years.
Right, yes. I know. We're going to talk about how good your hairs are.
Wait a minute.
We need to have that hair conversation. You're not going to get around that. So, but no, it is. And it's becoming more and more, from an insurance perspective, same thing. Many of the carriers are demanding that stuff be replaced or upgraded sooner. And that deferred maintenance before was just crackling paint. Now you're not going to be able to have insurance, or it's going to be dramatically a higher price. So
right, it goes hand in hand, right? If you take care of your reserve components, if you take care of your long-term maintenance, it makes better for the insurance, right? If you drink enough water, you take care of your skin. All this, you could look like this, and
Listen,
in 29
I want to get
years,
this off of me and ask you.
Okay.
All right. So in the morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, are you typically one of the ones that checks your phone right away? Good for you.
I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, no matter the day. Work out.
Yep.
Nice.
Tell us what your morning routine looks like.
So I have the same routine every day.
Consistency. I like it already.
Yeah. Consistency, commitment, all those things. So 5 a.m. every day, drink my morning shake, a little bit of creatine, a little bit of protein, hit the gym, come back, handle the kids.
Does the hair get worked on at 5 a.m. or is that after?
No, after the gym.
Okay, so is that like a hat to the gym, or you just rock
the hair stays like this when I wake up.
Okay.
When you get out of the shower, it's just...
My kids say I sleep like a corpse, so I'm in bed.
You don't want to mess up your hair, right?
Rad.
I get it.
That is rad.
Like
so
this.
It really
does. I don't move.
Hey, you're a good bed partner then, right? Yeah. Yes.
I take my sleep seriously, so I got the noise canceling headphones, sleep mask.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, geez.
That's so good.
Yes.
Listen to whatever the
wind, the stars, the sea.
binary frequencies or whatever it is you're supposed to listen to. Sleep mask, weighted blanket. I'm out. 10, 5, from 10 p.m. to 5, get my solid sleep.
Nice.
And luckily, I have a wife who tolerates this.
Those are
Love
the best,
her, by
right?
the way.
So I cut it off at 10, wake up at 5, do my gym. And then in between that, there's emails and calls that happen every day.
Of course,
but that is consistent. And then I come back from the gym, have an after workout shake or meal.
Yeah.
Pretty consistent as well. I get my micros and macros.
Are you a tracker? Do you track them?
I track.
All?
Yeah. And I that's it. And then I get to work. And if that's stable and consistent every day. Oh, and I meditate and do yoga in a sauna after my workout.
Dude, see, I already loved you, and now I'm like, yes.
No, now he's going to tell me, this was like a packed morning. I'm like, I don't know if I accomplished that much in a month. And he's like, then I do this. And then I do this.
It's like brushing your teeth. You become
it becomes habit, right?
So
it's practice.
And that's successful people, right? It's that
Agree.
routine.
They all have that in common.
Do you do that, right? And people are like, oh, it's monotonous. I'm like, no, that brings consistency, and now you know what to expect for the day, right?
Yeah. Then the day is just easy.
Right.
Right. After, if you can get that baseline out of the way, then whatever comes at you during the day is relatively...
You're ready to tackle it.
Yeah. If you set your mind right. So 1 mile run, 45 minutes of interval training, and then...
So he's adding more stuff. Like,
no, this is the...
Like in 4 minutes, he does 8 hours worth of work. I like it. I'm like, I got to get that hack going.
Just when I leave or I go to the gym, it's a mile run, 45 minutes of interval. So I get my cardio and weights and resistance, and then 15 minutes sauna. That in the sauna, I'm meditating and working or yoga.
There you go.
So good.
And that takes care of, and it's an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you think about the hour and 15 minutes that people waste throughout their day,
scrolling or whatever it might be.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or watching whatever Netflix show or whatever it is.
They talked about something like if you could take the productivity of Netflix and chill, of all the hours that people spend, and they could go volunteer somewhere, or just your own life, make it that much better.
I think they say the average person is like 3 to 4 hours a day. TV and scrolling, which is like bananas because there's so much.
And then you don't have
time
for to keep your house clean or do these other things. It's like, come on. So,
but your attention span and its instant gratification is apparently these dopamine hits for every little. You're trying to find the next hit, right?
Yeah.
That engages you, that will last.
It's like, when does that scroll stop, right?
Yeah. We can get the 15-second scroll versus the 1 second scroll.
Yes.
And they're monitoring all this, and they got they keep feeding you loops until.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's a little bananas, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. When you can see, like, if we happen to talk about something right now, I'm sure later on my phone, whatever that is, there's going to be an ad for whatever that thing is we're talking about.
So some of the stuff we're going to talk about too, perfect, is health and wellness, but also a little bit of AI and some stuff. So like in your space, are you guys kind of dabbling in that with legal stuff? Like
AI is.
I'm really intrigued about that.
AI has replaced my need for a paralegal. And like 3 attorneys.
I bet.
It's a little insane the level that AI
research that it can do for you, right?
Yeah, I'll give you.
Please give us an example.
Are you using something?
I'm using
else?
Chat. I tried other ones, but Chat just knows me now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I said that. I'm like, I might be having an affair with ChatGPT.
Corey just did say that this morning. He's about to have an affair with Chat.
She knows me so well. Yeah, we had another guest, Amanda from Harvest, and she uses ChatGPT, and she named her. It's Chatty.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask Chatty. Yeah.
Which one do you use? Do you have an accent? Is she a British one? I use.
I'm not down to the voice. I'm not down to the voice side yet, but there's it's impressive. But what example? Give me a quick example.
I'll give you a legal example, right? Yeah. So back in the days before AI, let's say I would draft like a contract. I would draft it or be some template, and then I would give it to my paralegal, and it would fall under her stack of queues of things she had to.
So you had to wait.
Wait. And then she would come back, give me some red lines, and I like it or not like it. Or maybe there's some research I need with it. I said, we look up this case, hand it back to her. That takes, another day, right? So I can now take that same contract, upload it into Chat, tell Chat, review, revise for X purpose. I'm negotiating with blah, blah, blah. I need you to fine tune it for this project or this issue, blah, blah, blah. And I'll come back and I'll read it, and then I'll go back instant.
Yeah.
It comes back instant of giving me a
And
revised.
I love that because it really takes you, like, people are like, oh, well, it's a cheat, it's a this. Like, no, if you're the subject matter expert and you know it, it turns you from an author to an editor. So you're still editing.
I love that part.
Right? You're the paralegal. Instead of paying someone for a paralegal, you're using that to speed up the process, which I think is amazing.
Right. So at the editor level, at the final eyes level, or the executive, or the owner, or whatever it is.
You can't be that attorney that didn't some attorney get in trouble because he literally just wrote his whole brief and sent it in.
You got cited, and it was fake. You still have to oversee the work.
Yes,
of course.
yes.
It makes the oversight of the work and the work product so much better and quicker. Efficient.
Yes. Well, we're able to do that too. We have a board meeting, and I'm able to use an AI tool to take notes. And that evening, you can give them an update with the detailed stuff of what the next steps are and everything. And it's amazing. The other one, we use one for if I have a follow-up board meeting, I can go back to the previous board meeting, look up the notes, see who asked the questions, and make sure that we're going to address those the next time. So it's not just to make things quicker. It's also to be more detailed and convey more information than before would be too tedious to do.
The concern is obviously a bunch of paralegals are now out of work.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the final decision makers or the editors of the world are still okay.
Yeah.
But does it take away a whole crop of lower tier managers, admins, assistants?
I think it's going to definitely, with anything, it's going to write like Blockbuster Video, right? Or any of these things, right? It's going to continue to change. And we're going to have to retool of what was important, and what skills people have and what they're going to have to. But understanding this technology is so, we put this whole podcast together with this. We were just doing something like, hey, we need to do a little clip for an upcoming thing. Chat, I need this, and this, and just shoots it out.
Yeah.
It is incredible, the mind
It's
power.
been a great assistant.
Yes.
Right.
For
It's
everything.
like they're your assistant.
Well, that's really intriguing. And I know there's a lot of skepticism behind that. But from a legal perspective, what when you have people that want to use that, what would be your advice with companies using AI from a legal perspective?
Well, you still got to review the work.
Yeah.
You still got to verify the law, the citations.
Yeah.
Right. You can't exclusively rely on the work product
Right.
of AI. Even now, I go through multiple drafts with AI, like I would
Same.
a paralegal.
Right.
Just because the one product that they spit out is not the final product.
Yeah.
You, as the final creator, editor, still have to oversee it, finalize it. So don't ever think that what they're giving you is right. I also tested a couple of versions of AI chat, and I put questions about the law, and sometimes they get the law wrong.
Yeah.
They will get it wrong.
Yeah.
And so nothing that they spit out is absolutely correct.
Right.
So you have to be mindful of that, and it's a tool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not the end all be all.
And know how to leverage it in the right way. But yeah, it's going to be. I think in the property management space, it could really be transformative. Especially like a lot of these managers, 80% of their time are responding to emails trying to re-educate a board member or a homeowner of something specific about their HOA. If that could be done automatically.
The flip coin of that is the board member, or not the board members, the residents are using it as well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so the residents, back in the days, they used to look at a website and be like, "Oh, this website said you're wrong, Mr. Lawyer." Now now everybody's a legal expert with chat.
They're coming in with statutes and stuff. Yeah.
Well, so they're asking ChatGPT questions and throwing it back at the lawyers.
Well, yeah, because you could throw in the CC&Rs and say, "Give me the X, Y, and Z about this." Yeah.
If they know how to put the input in, right?
Yeah. It's all about prompting.
Yeah. They'll take a picture, upload a photo of. So the HOA says my grass is X, Y, or Z, and here's the CC&Rs. Is the HOA right? They show up now, with a ChatGPT printout.
Yeah.
ChatGPT says.
Jeez. Well, it's kind of like it advances, but then it's also that much more complex.
Right.
So yeah. Well, yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to take place.
You could have a whole podcast. I've listened to podcasts on AI, and I've read these books on it. And it's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to learn, so much that it can do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to something a little more fun. Not that ChatGPT is not fun.
I know you don't like that stuff.
No, I do. No. She's super helpful. She's a she. So
Mine's
is she okay? If you were to walk into the courtroom and there was like a theme song, what would your theme song be?
Oh,
like baseball, like when the batter goes up,
or even like boxing, right?
When,
There's
Mike Tyson used to walk in, like, what's your song that you're going to crush it, and you're going to tell the best story?
I never even thought about that. But I guess it would just be Miles Davis. So what?
Ooh,
okay.
Okay.
Old school.
I'm just chill.
Okay.
Nice.
You know, just
So you don't need the hype.
See, no, I thought it would be like some sort of like cool rap song or something. He's like Miles Davis.
no, it'd be yeah.
Do you feel that calm going in because you prepared so well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most calming. It's the most calming
that's
moment when you're in there. To me, I
Especially
scuba
because
and
you're
I
prepared.
yeah, it's the prep. But the only thing I can analogize it to is I scuba or I snorkel, and it's like being in the middle of the ocean, and you have to get to that point of just chill and calmness. And so what would be the songs like? So what? I'm ready.
Right.
Whatever happens. So what?
Yeah.
So what happens when you do get caught off guard like that? Like there's something that you weren't prepared for.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But going back to the morning routine, right?
Yeah.
If you have that as a baseline, no matter what comes at you,
Right. You have
so
enough
what?
knowledge base where it's like, hey, I either know this or I don't, and it's okay if I don't know the answer to this.
And you learn to roll with it, or you
Yeah.
learn to adapt, or you
Yeah.
learn to pivot, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I mean, you walk into a board meeting, you think it's going to go one way, and
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
got some rogue director or somebody that there was a
Yes.
question.
We've
asked.
had
Narcissistic
that almost every
homeowner.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they've turned the whole conversation upside down.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, is if you're clean mind, clean
Yeah.
body, clean health, anything that comes at you in this industry or in life,
Yeah.
I think you're okay with.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever had a judge say something super outrageously outlandish to you?
yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Like, give us a paraphrase or a story. You're a storyteller, so
Yeah,
we're gonna ask you for
so-
stories.
He's like,
first-
hold on, I need a sip.
Yeah, let me tell, the first time I was at the Court of Appeals. You guys know about the Court of Appeals?
Vaguely, yes.
Tell us.
Enough to be dangerous. But
So jury trials are what you see on TV, right? You got a jury and you're telling a story or asking a witness something. If you lose at a jury trial, then you can appeal it. It goes up to the Court of Appeals. At the Court of Appeals, there's no jury.
just the judge.
3 judges.
Oh, okay.
3 judges.
Sometimes-
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, sometimes 5. Yeah, it's usually 3, but they switch. And it's just arguing the law, no facts, and they're sitting high up there. And you're just standing there. I don't know if you've ever seen U.S. Supreme Court arguments where they show, the 9 justices and lawyer just
So they're really looking down on you.
literally looking down. Right. And this was an appeal, so I forgot if I won or lost. I knew.
Let's say you won. Yeah.
Okay. But I knew going into this argument, I was in a losing position.
Gotcha.
I knew that the other side had a stronger argument, and I knew I was going to be for an uphill battle. And you take turns. So one attorney goes, and the next one goes, and you have like 5-10 minutes to argue, and they'll ask you questions. And I get up there, and I forgot the mic or the podium was high, and the judge is like, I know you're short. You can lower it if you need, like something
Oh
like
my God.
derogatory.
yeah,
Oh.
just like threw me under the bus right
Wow.
away. And listen, I make fun of my shortness all the time,
Right.
but that just like, threw me off guard.
Oh.
That this judge just, and he didn't say it in a nice way.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's like, I know you're short. If you need to stand him on a stool or something, go.
Wow.
That was the
Listen,
And
professional.
they're supposed to be
judge.
non-biased, right?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. I just
Yeah.
I lost.
So I lost. Yeah.
Well, especially because you already knew going in, you were uphill battle.
Yeah. So I always tell like attorneys or it's like once you get yelled by a judge or you get put down by a judge,
Nothing else matters, right? Yeah. And I think that
That
is
helps your thick skin, I would imagine, too, right?
that is, I think, a successful manager in this industry, right, has to have that thick skin, right?
oh yeah,
I think Summer, you talked about your mindset, right, where it's not like if someone's saying something, it's not about you, right? It's about
Right.
them. Like what we were talking about that before. When you said you take a different view.
Yeah, I was talking about how just quickly when I was younger, and I was a driver. I was a very angry driver, and I was always just upset with everybody cutting me off, all the things. And it got to a point where I didn't want to be that way anymore. So I switched as a practice my mindset of what if that person is rushing to be by their parents' bedside? What if that person is rushing to be with their kids? Whatever it is, by me changing that mindset and how I viewed it, it allows me to have more compassion for people, and it allows me to not be pissed all the time. So it's really twofold. It's changed my life to be able to view things that way now.
And I think managers a lot of times, right, they get insulted
You take
by
it personally.
and they take it personally. So it's right. How do we help through that process? Because you really have to not take it personally,
Yeah.
Because it's gonna the next insult's gonna come tomorrow. You know.
The soft skills of this industry
Yes.
are so important that they don't teach that enough.
Yeah.
We managers go in and they need to learn about the boards and CC&Rs and the law. But I think the first part is, listen, you're going to be dealing with a bunch of crazy people in this industry. You got to prep them. You got to set the parameters right away.
Yeah.
And to your point, empathy, compassion.
Yeah.
Like, don't react.
Yeah.
It's hard to teach people not to react.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that should be sort of a frequent training.
I agree. We try to do the. I always try to use the phrase, "Wow, that must be frustrating," right? Because a lot of times people just want validation.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, this is my house. You're telling me things that I don't want to do, and you say it in a tone that's authoritative. And it's like, wait, I'm paying for all this stuff, and you have some manager telling me I can't do this with no explanation. So yeah, that's that empathy of, hey, I know this sounds like a lot, but this is why we have to do this. And if you can explain a little bit, I think it kind of brings down the barometer in the room overall.
Yeah. There is something to trying to view it from the other person's perspective.
That's a big one. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge.
The emotional intelligence has been a thing, right? And that's
I wish
trying
they
to
would
hear
teach that in school.
They
to
are.
be honest with you. Are they? That makes me really happy. I mean, even start at junior high, start teaching that to kids.
Yeah. I didn't learn that curriculum growing up, but my kids.
What did give us? What were you lit up when you said that? What were you thinking?
I remember my daughter coming home to me and she was telling me about emotional intelligence. And then she was also telling me about learning about the fixed mind and the growing mind.
Oh, really?
How do you develop a growing mind? What are the characteristics? And she had a sheet. And I was like, I didn't learn this.
I love
That's fantastic.
It's like they're teaching, I think it was like third grade or second grade, it was elementary school, that she was coming home learning about the growth mind and the fixed mind.
That makes me so happy. That teacher deserves some serious props.
Yeah, or the curriculum. They are. It is coming, it is now part of the curriculum.
Yeah, it seems like so many things are being taken away these days. So it's that's a positive.
And then I always have to come back to her about that lesson. Hey, you remember when you learned growth mind and fixed mind?
Good.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to try the sushi, but that's fixed mind.
Right. Yes. That's a dad move right there. using it on themselves, right? Yeah, I love
that's
it.
good.
I don't want to eat this. I don't know. Really? Do you really want to be a fixed mind?
Yeah. So you have 2 daughters.
I have 3.
Three.
Okay. 13, 11, and 4.
Wow.
So the 4, if you do the math,
vacation
was
baby or
math.
COVID kid.
Okay, there you go. That's
so apparently we didn't have anything to do. And then luckily we liked each other.
I think that's gonna be like the baby boomer generation later on, right? It's gonna be like, were you born between these 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah. So we call her a COVID kid, and she's got me. She does no wrong.
I love it.
And
I feel the same way. Yeah.
What do you have?
I have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. So she can have anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got 3 daughters, but
They're wrapped around this little pinky,
yes,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
We were talking about going to Disneyland and the experiences that you get to have with daughters is just. I mean, you don't have a son, but I grew up with boys. But the bond between a mother and a father. Our previous guest, Diana, she was she's a grown woman and she still calls her dad daddy. You hope to have that type of long-term closeness. So it's special.
Yeah, no, that's and I work from home or mostly work from home. Yeah. So family time is. I mean, the morning routine is one thing, but I also have the family foundation. So I'm blessed and fortunate to have that.
And that takes work too.
It does.
Takes a lot of work, right?
My wife does most of it.
Yeah.
Shout out to wifey.
I honestly listen.
Yes.
If not,
you have
for
to have
my
a good
wife,
partner. If you have a good partner, I'm like, my wife hasn't changed the locks yet, so I'm still doing okay.
Yay!
Like that's the litmus test, right? Like, oh wait, I come in, the garage door opener still works. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, I get to be who I am because of her, and with the kids.
Yeah.
During the teenage years and the emotions.
Yeah.
She handles it all. Maybe it's because I'm Zen and I do the meditation and all of that.
Right.
So I'm pretty chill with my kids. I don't yell.
Yeah.
But she gets she gets all the hard work.
Right.
I get to take them to Disneyland.
Right. You get to be the fun uncle kind of, right?
Yeah. So I recognize it all.
Yeah.
Not that I would ever trade places, but I do appreciate everything she does. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes good partnership, right? Mm-hmm. Of the things that you are good at, you can lead, and the things that she's good at, she can lead, right?
Yeah.
And you both know that it's an important relationship. It's not one or the other.
Yeah. She was my high school sweetheart.
Aw.
Not that it took me forever to settle down.
Yeah.
I was crazy, but...
Are you saying you was a player?
No, I was saying... I was homecoming king, but
I mean,
whoa.
that does not
You just
surprise
dropped
me.
that in there.
That does not surprise me. He's like,
'cause
here's my crown.
It's probably because the hair, right? Are we going to talk about the hair? Can we talk about the hair?
Yeah, when did this come about?
I don't know. I was just trying to make myself taller one day.
Oh, okay. So,
Dude, now that you say that, that makes so much sense. Same.
Yeah, that's right.
okay, all right. See, we didn't know that.
I will. What's the? I mean, I don't know. I came with the fashion and the hair, and I was lucky enough to still have hair at 46.
Yeah, amen. Have you always been super fashionable and stylish?
I was voted best dressed and most likely to succeed as well.
Yes.
So yeah, fashion was a thing.
Yeah.
So I grew up in
We got to
the
work on
80s.
his self-esteem a
That
little
creative
bit.
thing is a bitchin' gene to have. Like it's really fun.
We're going back to the whole music conversation, right? I grew up in the 80s era. And so the pop culture guys were George Michael,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right, in his fashion. And they had like 80s fashion. Like that's what I grew up in. My
A
mom,
lot of neon, right?
yeah, neon. I still love neon. I love color. And then hip hop culture, which I learned as well. I was also on the basketball team. I don't look it, but
I was
Wait.
speechless. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait.
Basketball, like younger years?
in high school, I was
Okay.
on the varsity basketball
All
team.
right.
I dig that.
And so I was popular because I was the shortest kid on the basketball team, and also the only non-African American on the basketball
okay.
team. So I grew up 92.3 The Beat. We talked about
Yes.
circling back to Theo,
Yeah.
hip hop.
Yes.
That was your theme
culture.
songs coming out for sure, right?
Yeah,
What city did you go to high school
in
in?
Riverside.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up in hip hop culture and the braggadocious,
Yeah.
the bravado, and being the shortest kid on the basketball
had to
team,
be, right?
And being their team captain, and but I was just a point guard, so my only job was get the ball and pass it to
Pass
somebody
it off,
taller
yeah.
than
Yeah,
me.
that's an
Of course,
important. That's
yeah.
an important
Yeah.
job.
And that was it.
Your
That's
assists were through the roof, right? Yeah.
That's all I did. I had one job.
You're like, I didn't, no triple doubles,
I had one
but yeah.
job. And so there was probably a little bit of Napoleon complex being the shortest, and so yeah, clothing, fashion.
Yeah.
I was able to stand out, and
Yeah.
that was my height handicap, was to show it.
Well, I'm
off.
sure that helps you from a legal perspective too, right?
It does not.
No?
So in the courtroom, you cannot be fashionable.
Is that right?
So in the courtroom, you cannot outshine the judge.
Judge.
You cannot stand.
The judge is
out.
wearing a black
Now, when did you
outfit.
learn this? Did they teach you this in
Yes.
law school? Like you want to dress just like plain, professional?
Yeah. So courtroom, no handkerchief, no
Right.
no loud clothing. It's disrespectful to the decorum of the courtroom, disrespectful to the judge. You are an advocate for your client.
Right, you shouldn't be shining.
Correct.
Right.
So it's that something.
So that's got to pain you to go to court.
Interesting.
yes.
Right.
But no, I had to get creative a little bit on,
Right.
on how I still have me
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
tell us how you
Yeah.
did that.
little things.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have a small little handkerchief, not a big one.
Right,
Like
right.
a little, just the
Maybe
the line
socks.
handkerchief.
Socks are a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, maybe not the high shoes, but maybe like level two shoes.
Okay, yeah.
You know, we won't go full Gucci loafers, but
Yeah.
we'll go.
These red patent leather
Yeah, no, you
situations.
can't
I
do
love
Like that, those
those.
aren't making it into the
I love
courtroom.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Yeah. And so,
But I'm sure the boards appreciate it.
some,
Some.
but some, you still have to know your audience.
Yeah, true.
Sure.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. It's like you don't
I
want
think about that sometimes when we go visit boards, because sometimes I'm a little over the top with the jewelry or the accessories and, do I need to tone that down? Perception, that whole thing where it's like you want to be yourself, but you also want to
Yes.
be respectful.
Yes. That's a struggle, but yeah,
Yeah.
I've had to deal with that as well.
Well, I think too, it's right. You're gonna work with the people that appreciate what you bring forward. So you might not work with everyone,
right.
from a work ethics perspective or a style or whatever it might be, because there's a lot of people have hangups on certain things.
But I think at the end of you walk in and you're authentic,
Yes.
that carries a lot.
Yeah, I
right.
think
no
it
matter,
does too.
And that's
you're
a-
a flashy person like I am, but
Yeah.
you come across as genuine and you know what you're talking about. That helps.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, the authentic. It's kind of a word that gets thrown around a lot, but I think if you're true to what you're doing, that's going to shine through.
Yeah.
No matter if someone's plain Jane, but they're very authentic, you could still appreciate them very much.
Yeah.
Just as much as someone that's could be super flashy, but they're not genuine, that's even worse.
Yeah. So I guess I forgot to mention, when we talked earlier.
Are we going to talk about high school again?
Well, no.
Okay.
how to succeed in this industry, right?
Yeah.
One, caring about the community and the people, and two, being authentic.
Yeah. Agreed.
And that carries a lot.
Yeah.
But authenticity sometimes is hard. You can tell people, be yourself, be authentic. But if you're not happy with yourself, or you're going through stuff, that's hard. And this goes back to circling back to our discussion on soft skills and mental health, and how do we get people to be better at their jobs, and learning empathy, and teaching them those soft skills, I think is vital.
I do too. And I think all those things are practice, right? So even if you feel like you don't have it now, I'm always sharing books and podcasts and things for people to continue to learn. And then those things are a practice. And so I'm like, it's a daily practice,
It is.
Yeah.
To turn those things, or like the way that because your mind's super powerful. So if it's consistently going pessimistic or to the negative, it's a practice to turn it around.
The growth mind versus the fixed mind.
100%.
And there's a lot of people who have fixed mind. Nothing's wrong with that, but it's hard to go from a fixed mind to a growth mind. Yeah. That takes a lot of work.
It does. But it is definitely possible.
It is. Yeah. And inching them towards there, because it's not an overnight thing.
Yep.
So with some of the educational stuff that you guys do, how are you helping people in that fashion? Are you able to for empathy, stuff like that?
So we, even through CACM or through some other courses, I've taught soft skill courses.
Okay.
And even when I'm teaching hard skill classes, like I'm teaching CCNRs or I'm teaching the law, I weave it in.
Right.
I talk what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I said.
So what would be like those
top? You weave it in.
Yeah, those top three things. Like if you giving like a pro tip to a manager, like what are those top 2 or 3 things that you would say, hey, when you're dealing with boards, these are some things that you might want to focus on.
Well, learn your skill or your craft or whatever it is, right?
You got to be prepared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being prepared, knowing your stuff. If you're prepared, I think you're confident.
Right.
That breeds confidence.
So being prepared would definitely one, because that's a huge thing. I think some people put board packets together or whatever, and they shove it across the desk, and they're going to see what happens.
Right. You procrastinate, you leave it to the last minute.
Kind of like think of an attorney, right? You got to prepare in advance. And then what else?
And the empathy part, the knowing your community, putting yourself in their position, and not thinking it's just about you.
Right.
And so if one, you're prepared, and two, you're able to sympathize or be empathetic or put yourself in their shoes, whatever gets thrown at you, I think you should be able to manage.
Right.
And I think it's just simply that. Just don't overly complicate it.
And that's true. It is funny. You think it is a very complicated thing, but those are, pretty. I mean, I don't want to say simple, but they're not super complex.
Right.
Taking a little bit of time to prepare is not a big task.
It's not.
Yeah.
And this is like going back to when I'm preparing for a trial and I practice in front of my kids. It's just the prep work.
Right.
And find ways to help prepare yourself.
Right.
Whatever that is, talking to your spouse, talking to your roommate,
coworker,
talking to your
whatever.
Whatever. Hey, I got this board meeting tonight. I know it's a tough thing. What do you think about this? Or if I tried this? You need to be able to bounce ideas.
I don't think a lot of people do that.
No, they just internalize.
Right.
I got this board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk and run things by. There's things like mock trial, and I do mock stuff a lot, even with my team now.
Yeah.
So I do mock interviews with my team.
Interviews like in front of a board type situation?
Yeah, so now at CM2, if we go and we have a big interview, I'll do a mock-up with my team.
So give me real quick let's back up CM2. Just give me a brief description of what you guys focus on, your area stuff, because a lot of our viewers might not. Hopefully, we have more than 3, but they might know exactly what your company does.
So we're a bit of a unique construction company. So there's a lot of construction companies. Everybody is able to swing a hammer, but I guess the unique part about us is that we're sort of construction experts in that, as I mentioned earlier, I've used these experts in my lawsuits. So we have construction guys who do testimony for cases, who understand forensics, who know how to peel back the onions or the layers of a building to see what's actually going on. So it's the construction experts, the guys who swing the hammers, but I have people who have been in the HOA management, 30 years as HOA managers, helping out and leading teams. And then myself in doing construction defect and the litigation side of HOAs. So it's sort of all these experts in the HOA industry that are able to take on a construction project. And so I don't swing a hammer.
Right.
I can't even change a light bulb. But at least I've been in the courtroom where
Well, you're not tall enough, right? Oh,
that
sorry.
too.
Sorry.
There's not enough light.
Jesus, Corey.
The wine's hitting.
Yes, I know. A little honesty, right?
But that's the thing, is sort of having all that experts doing a construction project.
Well, it sounds like they can bring the problem, and then you can bring whatever appropriate solution is needed, right?
Yeah. And trying to get them to address deferred maintenance.
Right.
Or after they settle a construction defect case and taking on these big projects.
And that's becoming more important from an insurance perspective too, because the carriers want to know that you're actively working towards repairing those things. So getting in contact with a construction management company like CM2 to say, what are we going to do? Not necessarily that you're going to start tomorrow, but right, I'm assuming it takes a little while to put a plan in place. You're not going to action in 2 months and start doing something.
So we put the scopes together, we do the work, we do the repairs, everything under the sun.
Right.
When it comes to construction, we do. So now with even the post SB 326 stuff. Right?
Yes. So the SB 326 that's the balcony bill, right? That seems to be, the hot topic right now, and it's going to be a large expense, another expense to HOAs that they're not ready for.
Right. Yeah. And now, Fannie Mae, and they're asking whether you're undertaking these repairs.
Yes.
And people think they just check the box by getting the report.
Yeah.
Or do the inspection, but you actually got to do the repairs.
Yes.
Yeah, you essentially need a passing report, right?
Yeah.
Which includes
And that
repairs.
seems like it's pretty extensive. It's not just a small little repair, because some of these.
Yeah. There's structural issues, a lot of them, right? So.
And if they don't have, construction defect, it's 10 years
Within
initially.
10 years.
So if it's older than that, they're going to be on the hook for this cost.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point, because if you have a project that's under 10 years old, you want to wrap the balcony SB 326 into a defect claim.
Right.
It's a little bit more economical.
Right.
So and defect term, or defect is like a naughty word sometimes in the industry, but it's important. Like if you have a project that's under 10, you should file the defect claim.
Right.
Or go through that process.
To at least start the process, right?
Yeah. It's I analogize it to like when you have a dishwasher and you got like a 1 year warranty. There's a lot of people that say right before the 1 year, just submit a warranty claim.
Might as well get a check before before it goes out of warranty, right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even though you think nothing's wrong, there's something going on. It's never perfect. Right?
Yeah. Well, and construction has gone up so fast in so many different places.
Yeah.
There's corners that are cut, not necessarily intentionally, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the greatest increase in cost is construction.
Yeah.
Maybe next to eggs. But we did
or the cost of insurance. Yeah, we're pretty high up there.
Yeah.
You guys have a whole
Yes.
a whole
thing.
podcast.
Yes.
With that.
Or a kumbaya. Yes.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just on a panel with some attorneys, and one of the topics was insurance. And she said, the only thing I know about is everybody's effed. I don't know.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
What legal advice do you give a board? Like it's just,
I know it's a really challenging time right now. We're in probably the hardest market most professionals have seen, and yet we have something like the LA fires that take place that are only going to exacerbate the issue. So it's going to be a long uphill battle. So
if I had a wish list on like one thing I think could fix the HOA is that there was some requirement or legal requirement by which assessments had to be increased each year to a certain level.
Yeah.
Inflation, CPI, whatever index or measurement you
there's
wanted.
other states that you're able to do assessments and special assessments if the reserve funds aren't to a certain level.
Well, my thing is, in the rental market or in every contract that you sign for services, there's built-in increases.
Right.
So in your rental agreement for landlord tenants, right, every year they're going to increase your rent.
Yep.
Your Netflix contract has increased every year.
Yeah.
All these things have increased each year. So the cost of goods
goes up.
But yet in the HOA industry, it stays stagnant because everybody thinks we got to keep it low.
Yeah. Well, they have the ability to forego those increases, right?
Yeah.
They can decide.
Well, the interesting thing about that is it seems like when they haven't had an increase in years, they're super proud of that. And I think the education is explaining to them why it's super important to continue those increases year after year to keep them stable and funded and prepared.
That to me is the disconnect. One, cost of goods is up, but you want to keep it low. Two, you have a fiduciary duty to maintain this community, right? And it costs money to maintain this community. It costs money for insurance, the landscaper, the pool guy, the contractor.
And none of it's going down.
And then yet you don't want to keep up with the costs of these services, but yet you have the law imposes this duty on boards to maintain this place, but yet the law won't impose a duty to require how this gets paid, or at least to keep up with the pace of those services.
And then some of the laws that they do want to put on the books are a little wackadoodle too.
Yeah. And then we spend hours arguing over
splitting lots or this or that or whatever it might be.
How tall your grass is, or whether you can vote electronically, which I get is important.
Yeah.
But the fundamental issue and the concern with the HOA industry is cost.
Yeah.
Because I think it all comes back to a lot of HOAs don't have enough money to do X, Y, or Z. And why is that? Because there's no requirement.
It's been going year over year over year. It just keeps getting worse if you're not increasing those. Yeah.
I get the loudest voices in Sacramento or the disgruntled homeowners who go up there and complain about X, Y, or Z and say I pay too much. And those are the ones the legislators have to listen to because they're voting for them.
Yeah. Well, and that's the challenge.
In fact, they were just there last week, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the challenge is too, right? One person makes a complaint or a small group. Right. But that's now going to be for all 55,000 HOAs in California. And does that one law or regulation really serve all of these HOAs the same way? So that's the challenging part. So
yeah.
What else we got, Summer?
Well, if there was one thing that you would recommend or suggest or give a tip to homeowners and boards, what would that be? Besides
raising your dues?
That's a really good one.
No, I think you touched on it with if you have a community that's coming up on the 10 years, do a check.
Yeah.
Don't wait until year 12 to realize that you missed out on something.
Yeah, because I see that in my lawsuits, right? Did they go to defect? They didn't go through defect. Oh, they're in 15. Yeah. There's no defect money to handle this, right? Now you're paying the lawyer and so.
Because you can at least start the process, right? It's not that those repairs have to be completed. And
correct. And I think the other misconception is it's a lawsuit. We don't want to go through. It's not a lawsuit. Think about it as the dishwasher analogy. It's just a warranty claim. You're filing a claim to see what needs to be done, what could be done. And there's always, not always, 99% of the time, there's insurance money to repair those defects. Real quick story. Do we have time?
Yeah, we got time.
There's a community.
There's no time in podcast world.
There's more wine. There's a community in LA where the developer were foreign nationals. And they couldn't build out the entire building, and they're reaching their 10-year. A very astute attorney was able to convince this still developer board to basically file a claim against themselves to trigger the insurance so they can get the insurance funds to do the repairs, essentially convincing them to, you think about it, suing themselves and filing their own claim against they're the board, they own these units they're trying to sell.
Right.
And I said, that's the smartest thing.
Yeah.
And that lawyer knew what she was doing in order to persuade them that it was in their best interest. And these guys are business guys sitting on the board, but yeah. So I think a lot of boards get scared of, we don't want to be in a lawsuit. It's bad for escrow. No, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
If escrow knows you have a defect claim, escrow knows you have funds in order to address potential repairs.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So anyway, it's a misperception in the industry and what people think. We don't want to go through lawsuits.
I think you're right, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is definitely a perception in the industry.
So if a board member or a manager they think there might be something going on, do they reach out to the attorney first? They reach out to someone like you guys first?
Either. They can come to us and we can do an inspection and we're experts in it and we can take a look, give you an analysis, and then say, this is probably worth bringing in claims.
And it seems like it's the perfect fit for you moving over to CM2 to provide that counsel. Because it's like, it's repairs, but there could be some legal action that could be required. So I think that's a great marriage between the two. Because you guys are heavily relied on by the construction defect attorneys to do the forensic, right? To go out there and see what's going on.
Yeah. So we give you a first look and we'll sort of guide you down the right path. And this narrative that I'm telling you, I would tell boards, right? You're not suing. It's not a bad thing. This is actually a very good thing. It's a positive thing that you're doing this.
Yeah.
And every under 10 should be doing this. Every manager that has an under 10 should have that in mind. The problem and the misperception is, a lot of the CD, I love my CD
Make that disclaimer,
but there's the way that they market or the way that they try to get business, some people call it like the underbelly of HOA marketing,
Right.
right? Because there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
In
Well,
these
bigger
claims.
cases, bigger money. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there is that misperception. But I think if we change that perception that this is a benefit, and to all my CD lawyer colleagues, if you lead with this is do well for the community, do well for the client. At the end of the day, your pocketbooks, your third house in Maui will be fine.
Right.
But if you lead with just this is good for them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think that's great.
I want to end with a really poignant question, and that is, how many suits do you own?
Countless.
Countless. Do you have like your own separate room? Did you kick your daughter out of one of her rooms?
I have like 3 closets. My wife's not happy. She
Yes.
she says I live in your clothing and accessories.
Dude, I want to come over and check out these closets.
we're gonna have to do that. What was that one show where the stars show their house?
Yes, Cribs.
Cribs. Yeah, we're gonna do a
yeah.
HOA Cribs version, and you're gonna be the first one on the
Yes.
episode.
You know, it's all color coordinated
That's
too.
like-
Yes.
better be.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is just
The shirts, the
phenomenal.
Do you have like a court closet because it's got to be more
No, it's just all
scaled down.
all color coordinated.
Yeah.
And so you got the dark browns, light browns, into
Nice.
the pinks and the
And then who
blues, the
does your
blacks.
suits? You got a guy. You gotta have a guy.
So Baby Gap has a great kid section. I have to have a guy. I can't buy anything off the rack.
Yes,
You
I
know.
love it.
That's
It's
awesome.
good. And then I got they got the V
Yeah.
type body, so it has to be tailored or
I
something.
love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Good
Yeah,
for you.
it's tailored perfectly. We love it.
I just
and we
got one of
love
my
you.
first tailored suits, and now I'm hooked. So yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
it feels amazing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's-
Yeah, like Groom's Grotto. Shout
Yes.
out to them.
Yes.
They're have you been there?
I think I have an event coming up. Or
Yes,
yeah.
actually, we're doing it together.
In LA?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
doing- we
Yes,
did the one
yes.
in Orange County. We're doing LA. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So-
Custom suit making tailored to your body. It's
Yeah.
pretty fantastic.
He's gonna put on a clinic there.
Yeah, you got to get the the Italian wool, like a 150, 130, or 130 to 150. They teach you all this.
What is
stuff?
that thread count? What is that?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be doing another educational session there
Yeah.
on clothing.
So once you get into it, so there's some guys like into Harleys or cars.
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
Right?
If you're going to collect something, you might as well collect something that you can show up every day,
Heck
right?
yes.
For me, it's suits,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, so thread count is like 100 to 150.
Yeah.
and different threads. Like the Italians are known for their better ones, and there's American, there's Chinese, and stuff like that. And then on that scale, it's for different occasions, different feel, and then how you get it tailored, how many layers,
I love that.
all this
Me
stuff.
too. I'm
You can
glad
get-
you're coming to the LA one.
You're pretty deep into it.
Now, how did you start to educate yourself in that little realm?
I don't know. It's just into suits. Like if you're into anything, like,
Yeah, yeah,
What,
just-
what are you into, Corey? What are you? What?
Golf.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So you know clubs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how to hold a club.
I
you
got you, yeah.
know.
Yeah, the courses,
Courses.
the shoes,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Same
yeah.
thing. Whatever you're into, you sort of
Yeah.
dive into the terminology and then the nuances.
I love it.
So
And you get to
shoes.
show it off every day, right?
Well, I just like it. It feels nice.
Yeah.
You know, like you like being on a golf course.
Yeah.
You like getting a new club, right? There's this. It's visceral and same thing. Like with suits or clothing.
It is.
I love it.
Right.
Well, you and Summer definitely have that in common. 'Cause
Oh, I love it.
She's always rocking something.
Yeah.
Can we put our shoes in for the shoe cam?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
too.
shoe
Yes.
cam. Corey, you can if you'd like.
They're a little plain.
I mean,
yeah. I got some work to do.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a big sneakerhead.
Yeah.
So a lot of Jordans, a lot of back, and the sneaker game is different now. It's sort of back in the days. It was exclusivity.
Yeah.
So people who would, let's say, wake up and go wait in line for a pair of new sneakers to be released. When it got digitized, people who would get in line, and I remember you had to join like at 7 or 6 in the morning, try to get into a weight room to get limited edition shoes before they got released.
Now
And
you can just pay for them, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And now that's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And now everybody's wearing Jordans, and it's like,
I know they don't feel as special,
they
right?
don't.
Yeah.
And I've noticed they charge different prices for different sizes, which is fascinating to me.
So anyways, so the sneaker game has lost a bit of its luster.
Yeah.
Where it's
I
not
still love it.
exclusivity.
Right.
It's just who is willing to
Pay more. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like baseball cards, right? Like you can get whatever you want if you want to pay for it.
Yeah, baseball, right?
Yeah.
The exclusivity of
Yeah.
the rareness of a card. That was
Now you got some YouTuber that's willing to pay $2 million for
Yeah.
an X, Y, or Z, right? So
It's nuts.
So we can talk every day. We should do this again.
I love it. I love it.
We
Well-
will do this again. Thank you.
You guys
Yeah,
are
thank you
awesome.
for
We
coming.
love
Yeah.
having you.
Well, we're definitely if we need some voiceover work, we're gonna bring you in here.
You want me to do your intro? I can start
Yeah,
doing the intro.
do it.
When we're done here, you're going to definitely do the
Definitely.
intro. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. Next Level Living podcast out. See you next time.